What is up, guys? My name is Luke, and today I'll be giving you your way too early top 10 fantasy football running backs for the 2021 season. Things a little clearer real quick. This will be point 0.5 PPR rankings. So obviously, like you're playing standard or full point, these rankings may vary a little bit. However, as previously mentioned, point 0.5 PPR. Let's keep it moving. Now, for these first, I don't know, maybe three, I think you could pick them in any order, and I wouldn't really fault you too much for it. However, my number one overall running back, despite not really playing at all last year, is still going to be CMC. Now, Christian McCaffrey only played in 3 games last year. However, he did average the highest amount of running back points in half-point PPR leagues. There are some question marks around the Panthers. Obviously, they have like a mediocre line and some quarterback questions. However, CMC gets the ball when he's on the field. Bottom line, he's going to get a ton of catches, which is always going to give him a nice floor. But basically, I'm going to pick CMC 1. I think like he'll obviously have positive regression because he only played 3 games, and I think his high reception floor compared to the other two running backs that are going to be 2 and 3 here are a reason to pick him first. However, if you're concerned about injuries, I understand why you'd pass on him. Speaking of a guy that usually gets injured but really didn't last year, we have Dalvin Cook at number 2. Now, as previously mentioned, if you want to pick Dalvin number 1, by all means, go ahead. He's a 1,500-yard rusher last year, and they have most of their offense back. Last year, he became more involved in the receiving game as he had 44 catches. So, it's hard for a running back to really break into the top 5, top 3 fantasy, especially in like PPR leagues, fantasy like production. But Dalvin Cook managed to do that, and despite only catching 44 times, but that was an increase from the previous year. So you can look forward to that as well. He averaged 5 yards per carry, which is pretty healthy, actually very healthy. That'll probably stagnate, but still, I mean, 1,500 yards, 44 catches. He's been in top 3 back the last 3 years. I mean, the only thing that I had against him and why I didn't draft him the last 2 years is because he always got hurt in the fantasy playoffs. However, this year he was available for most of it, so I guess you got to give him credit. Number 3, Derrick Henry. Let me keep it a bean real quick. If you play in a standard league, this should probably be the first pick. However, half point PPR, I just have to put him. Honestly, I could put him even lower, but if you run for 2,000 yards, I'm not putting you out of the top 3. So he's going to go number 3. He's extremely limited receiving upside with only 19 total catches last year. He's also taken a beating with over 800 touches the past 2 years combined. But then again, he's kind of built like just a tank, so he'll probably just fucking eat those hits and keep it moving. The Titans have an okay offensive line. They just moved on from their first round pick last year, which is, it's just a mess of a situation for everyone. But yeah, Derrick Henry's kind of been proven to be like the LeBron James of the NFL in terms of like durability. Like he just seems like he can just keep going out there and keep taking hits and just keep it moving. And no matter what, he's going to get 20, 25 touches a game. So his floor is going to be pretty decent. I don't think his floor is as high as Dalvin Cook or CMC just because he can have those games where he just gets like 90 rushing yards and no receptions and you just get 9 points out of him. So that's the only thing holding him back in PPR leagues. But, he's still a monster. What else are you going to say? Like, he's a literal tank. Number 4, Saquon Barkley. What do you Saquon? Saquon Barkley. What can we say about Saquon? Well, he's also been hurt the last couple of years. But when he's healthy, I know he didn't really look super great last year, but to be honest, their whole offense didn't look super great early on in the year. But he's a beast. He has something going for him again, as he actually is like a pass catcher. He had 90 something catches his rookie year, so like obviously you can expect that to not maybe quite be as high, but he's gonna have a nice catching floor. They had an improving offensive line, although I'm pretty sure at the time of this recording they just released Kevin Zeiler, so that's probably gonna hurt him a little bit. But one thing that looked promising is similar to CMC, Saquon's gonna be pretty healthy, or at least he should be relatively healthy this time because he hasn't been hit too much the last 2 years. And honestly, I kind of like Joe Judge as a coach. Like the team seemed to really rally around him, and they looked like a team that improved as the year progressed, and that's really encouraging. Not a huge Daniel Jones guy, but he is like the fastest QB in the league, so got to get behind that a little bit. But basically, yeah, Barkley will have a nice floor with his elite pass catching ability, and will be fresh. So look for him to have a big year. Honestly, I personally like Saquon. I'd probably take him 2, but that's only because I don't like Dalvin Cook, and I don't really, despite Derrick Henry being a monster, I don't like his floor. But it is what it is. All right, moving along, we have Alvin Kamara, number 5. Now there's a lot of question marks around the Saints quarterback. Who's it gonna be? Is Breeze actually gonna retire? He should, but who knows? You know how people get when they're old, they get a little senile. But Kamara finished with 344 points in half point standard scoring PPR. It's kind of a mouthful right there, but basically like just normal scoring, but half point PPR. Despite not rushing for 1,000 yards, so basically the dude doesn't really need the ball that much to be productive, which is fantastic because when he does get the ball a lot, he scores 6 touchdowns. But basically last year he had 83 catches, and we all know who Kamara is. Maybe gets like 12 rushes a game, but he'll get like 8 catches, 6 to 8 catches, and that'll be that. He'll give you a nice 12-point floor with upside of like 30 points. So if you like that, you're into that, Kamara's your guy, especially if you pick in the top 5. Kamara might be your guy. You could argue him higher, lower, whatever. They got famous Jameis coming in, the LASIK laser rolling up into the shop probably. So hopefully they'll have to be throwing a lot more, which is good for Kamara. But we'll see. I think Kamara could fluctuate because if they decide to play Taysom Hill a good amount next year, well, we saw what happened to Kamara when Taysom Hill decided he didn't feel like throwing the ball. So that's a big yikes. But assuming the LASIK laser takes over and famous Jameis is slinging the ball, I like Kamara at number 5. All right. What is this? Number 6. I have Ezekiel Elliott. Ooh, Zeke. See, a lot of people last year had Zeke, loved him the first couple games, hated him the rest of the year, but still treated him like a running back 1. They couldn't quite move on from him, even though he probably should have. But 2021, new year, new me, here we go. Keep it moving. Zeke will get 20 touches a game. All right, I don't care what the score is, how he's playing. If he's playing like dog shit, dropping every ball, it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Zeke will get 20 goddamn touches almost every game, and that's just how it be. Obviously, he suffered last year because Dak went down and the whole offense just kind of became like this dog shit, honestly. Like, they just looked fucking terrible all the time. CeeDee Lamb actually looked pretty good. But besides him, everyone else looked like dog shit on offense for the most part. I mean, that's what happens when you have like a quarterback carousel. But Dak just got a fat fucking chunk of change, so he'll be back next year. So basically, he's the victim of losing a quarterback early in the year. Their offensive line, I think three of their 5 like Pro Bowl offensive linemen didn't play for most of the year, including one. I can't remember his name, but one didn't play the whole year. So obviously their offensive line is going to be coming back. They're going to have about 1,000 pounds worth of fucking giant men that are beasts at football coming back. So that'll be fire. But basically, yeah. I mean, I think second year coordinator. Second year with Mike McCarthy, usually second year is when the offense takes a big jump when they move, and I expect Zeke to be part of like I'm thinking a top 5 offense next year. And if you want a running back in a top 5 offense, you need a lot of opportunities for touchdowns. Number 7, Nick Chubb. I hate Nick Chubb. I hate Nick Chubb. Not because he sucks, because he doesn't suck. He's actually really good. But and just like last year, and I called it last year too, you could take Kareem Hunt at a later round and get about the same value. Now, I know Nick Chubb got hurt last year, but Kareem Hunt finished higher than him in standings, in final running back standings, which is crazy because Kareem Hunt went in like the 9th round. Nick Chubb isn't going in the 2nd. But one healthy, and Nick Chubb's just a beast. Like, I mean, but he's kind of similar to Derrick Henry in that he will not get receptions. So that's kind of worrisome. If the Browns fall behind in the game, you're not really going to see Nick Chubb a ton. But what is Nick Chubb going for him? 1, monster. 2, the Cleveland Browns have arguably the best line in the NFL now. So if you have a beast of a running back behind a beast of an offensive line, you're probably going to get some points, you know what I'm saying? So he's probably going to get another 15, 16 touchdowns if he stays healthy. So yeah, if you want to pick him in the late 1st, early 2nd, I would. Like I said, I just think like Kareem Hunt just has so much value that it's hard for me to pick Nick Chubb. But I mean, I guess you could honestly probably play them both in some situations, so it's up to you. Number 8, I have Jonathan Taylor. Jonathan Taylor. Sleeper last year, except not really a sleeper because everyone was hip to him. So he's more like I drafted him too early for the first half of the year player, but he was a beast the last 5 games. So if you somehow weren't dog shit the first 10 weeks, made the playoffs, Jonathan Taylor probably helped you win a championship or at least come pretty close. So you got that going for you. The Colts again have a beast of an offensive line, so he's chilling in the back behind it. He actually was getting some receptions later in the year, which is great to see. Marlon Mack's gone. I really think that I know they have Naheem Hines, cock blocking them, getting all those receptions and shit. But I really think Jonathan Taylor is going to get more catches this year. And Jonathan Taylor has the potential to finish in the top 5, especially if he gets more involved in the receiving game. But behind a beast of an offensive line, the Colts should be really good this year. The only thing that's going to stop him is if Carson Wentz continues to be absolutely atrocious as an NFL quarterback. That's the only way. Now, a lot of people are like, that's probably going to happen. Maybe, maybe, maybe. And no offense to Phil. Phil played pretty well last year, but it's not like they had a fantastic quarterback last year, and Jonathan Taylor still came on really strong at the end of the year. So I think Jonathan Taylor, if you get Jonathan Taylor in the second round, that's gas. That's pure gasoline. Throw that shit on the fire. Fucking watch it burn, bro. You're burning everybody down on your way to a fucking championship. But, like I said, you get him in the second round, beast. You pick him in the late first round, I still think you get good value. I love picking running backs in the first round. I know. I mean, I just feel like you have to almost, unless there's really good value. Like you get a Devontae Adams like at a good position, but that's about it. Moving on. Number 9. Austin Ekeler. Austin Ekeler, Austin Ekeler, Austin Ekeler. I was off the Austin Ekeler train last year. He went late in the second round of my big draft. I didn't like him just because I thought Tyrod Taylor would do similar to what Taysom Hill did to Kamara, where instead of yucking the ball to him for like 4 or 5 yards when he's pressured, he would just run for those 4 or 5 yards, like a little selfish bitch. But obviously Herbert's the quarterback now, and Herbert loves throwing the ball. So Austin Ekeler would realistically get a ton of catches. Last year, unfortunately, he ripped open his hamstring and was out for about half the year. But despite missing like 6 or 7 games, he still had 54 catches, which would put him on pace for about 100, obviously. And furthermore, that offense should improve. Now they do have a new coach, so we'll see. Assumably, they have a new coach, a new offensive coordinator, so they might come off to a little slow of a start. But I still think Austin Ekeler can get a ton of those check down throws and just rack up the points. Basically, I think Austin Ekeler, I don't know how high his ceiling is per se. I think he could put up 30 points here and there, maybe. But I think Austin Ekeler has a really high floor. So if you want to snipe him in the second round and get a great floor running back, that'd be a good move, I think. Also, I think he can score a lot of touchdowns because I assume that Chargers are going to have a great offense again. Number 10. This is tough. You can put a few guys here, and there's still a lot of moving parts in free agency and teams cutting people. It's literally going to be the crucible for free agency this year. But number 10. I got Cam Akers. Might be controversial. Some people love Cam Akers. Some people hate Cam Akers. But objectively, he played pretty well the last 6 games last year. I mean, I know a lot of people picked him and sat on him all year, and he didn't do jack shit. And then a lot of people dropped him. And then somebody came through, picked him up, and probably made a little bit of a run with him, playing him in the flex spot or maybe RB2. The good thing about Cam Akers, if given the opportunity, which the Rams showed that they would towards the end of last year, he is going to be on a top 5 offense this year. The Rams the last 2 years ranked 7th and 11th in offensive rating with Jared Goff, and now they got the staff daddy coming in there just to yuck the ball around, bro. They're going to be a top 5 offense. You want, especially if it's a single back situation or if they mix in Malcolm Brown or whatever. Hey, future Luke here. So I mixed up Darrell Henderson and Malcolm Brown. Malcolm Brown is actually a free agent this year. Therefore, it'll be Darrell Henderson potentially splitting carries with Cam Akers, and I just wanted to clarify. Thanks. If he gets 65% of the carries and he's on a top 5 offense, the dude is going to finish in the top 10 for running backs. He is going to finish top 10. There might be a game or two where you hate this guy. It might happen. He might get you 6 points one game, but he can get you 35 points a different game. And I think that's worth the risk if it pans out the way I think it will, where the Rams are a top 5 offense and you have the majority shared running back on that team. I think Cam Akers could win you a lot of playoff games and a lot of games throughout the year and put you in a good position all year. But, like I said, it's only a top 10 list. But we're going to throw in some honorable mentions here. We got 4 guys. I know, 4 guys. That's like half the running backs, dude. Yeah, I know. Fucking get over it. Firstly, we have Josh Jacobs. Basically, Josh Jacobs finished, I think, 7th or 8th last year. I think 7th through 16 weeks or 8th overall. I think John Taylor scored 50 points or something last week and passed him. But he basically just was the victim of having his whole offensive line destroyed before the year started, or as the year progressed through a couple weeks, and he was just getting hit in the backfield constantly. And that led to him being very touchdown dependent last year. And if you were a Josh Jacobs owner, it was kind of frustrating because he would get the carries. He'd get 20, 25 carries, but only get like 85, 90 yards. He was getting slapped around in the backfield before he even got the ball. Furthermore, he has limited receiving upside, although they did show flashes of him being able to catch the ball and be productive. Also, he could have scored like 4 or 5 more touchdowns if John Gruden would stop being so damn cute on the 1 yard line, just give Josh Jacobs the ball and score a goddamn touchdown. Maybe they'd win more than 8 games. But, John Gruden doesn't give a fuck. He's got 100 mil in the fucking bank. He doesn't give a shit if they win or lose. Now, I would have had Josh Jacobs in the top 10, but those same offensive linemen I was talking about that got hurt, basically they're not coming back. They traded. Okay, so basically, the Raiders cut Gabe Jackson and Richie Incognito, and they traded Trent Brown back to the Patriots. So hopefully he's not absolutely dog shit when he goes back there. But basically, yeah, all the guys that were out for a lot of the year last year, are kind of like out this year. You know what I mean? So I think he's gonna stagnate. There's still potential for him to be top 10 just because he's good, but I would stay away from him until the late second, maybe early third. If you get him in the third round, I think it's good value, like really good value. But we'll have to see. Another honorable mention: Miles Sanders. Miles Sanders and Josh Jacobs are they're basically in the same boat, except Miles Sanders' ship sank way earlier than Josh Jacobs. The Eagles basically had everybody injured in the preseason and offseason. And honestly, that was like a bit of foreshadowing to the absolute fucking murder their franchise would go through, and the absolute fucking purge that would come through the building and just eviscerate everyone. But I think with a healthy O line, Miles Sanders could be a beast. He's a lot of questions at quarterback. I mean, a lot of these running backs have questions at quarterbacks, but I think Miles Sanders healthy could be a beast. Now, this guy it might be surprising on the list because he finished sixth last year, and that's David Montgomery. I don't like David Montgomery. I don't believe in David Montgomery. Basically, they had one of the easiest schedules at the end of the year in terms of like the other team's defensive ratings and specifically their running rate, their ability to stop the run, and that led to him just absolutely popping off the last few weeks of the year. Now, if you had him on your roster the last few weeks of the year, you probably made a run through the playoffs after just fucking having him just shit the bed on your roster for the first 8 weeks. But he did come through at the end, and a lot of people might have him ranked higher just because he was on such a tear. But I think those games are more of an outlier compared to the other 20 games where he was dog shit. And lastly, Antonio Gibson showed some flashes last year, but I don't really trust Washington's offense outside of Terry McLaurin, and they also have question marks all over the place at quarterback and honestly everywhere on offense except for T-Mac. So you take him with a grain of salt. All right. But yeah, that's my top 10 running backs, my way too early top 10 running backs for 2021 fantasy football. Yeah, take it easy, guys.